hey, in just a few years from now, machines are going to access your data much more frequently than humans will log into your dashboards and then click buttons and get actions done.
People don't realize that more than 70% of really large SaaS platform usage are non-interactive sessions. When a contextual question is asked, is that answer supposed to be given back to this end user or not? Are they authorized to get access to this kind of information or not?
Hey, welcome to the Scalekit Podcast. I'm Ravi, one of the co-founders of Scalekit. We provide identity and authentication infrastructure for B2B applications. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Jagadeesh Kunda, co-founder of Oleria, and one of the leading experts in identity and access management. Jagadeesh has been building identity solutions for more than a decade across Salesforce, JumpCloud, and now at Oleria. Jagadeesh, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, Ravi, great to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining. Tell us more about Oleria and what are the problems that you're solving.
Yeah, so Oleria is an identity security platform. It focuses on helping customers to protect their identity stack, have incident response and governance capabilities in a single platform we call Trust Fusion. It's a graph native capability with AI first vision called autonomous governance. A lot of complex environments and large customers like to work with Oleria, and we are super excited to partner with you in this conversation.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you spoke about AI first governance platform for large organizations. I actually want to take the cue from there and then talk about how do you identify humans, how do you identify non-humans, and how has this whole world impacted because of the whole advent of AI agents everywhere?
Yeah. So at a foundation level, a lot of people don't realize some facts about identity and access management and the technology itself. The first, a lot of applications do not even present what is a non-human identity out of the box, programmatically speaking, right? So take Salesforce, for example, or ServiceNow or GitHub. There is no service principal concept in those, right? You have to detect them, and there's more technology to be done. The second is non-human identities are also impersonated. A lot of times they look like human identities, but the purpose and the way they are used are non-human identities. So what we do is we focus on what is the function of these identities and accounts rather than what they are earmarked in the configuration of the platform. So we use AI and ML to do those detections. That's one example. The second is access governance. Access governance have had a long journey, 20 plus years. A lot of vendors have done access governance products in the past. At best, it is automated today. So a lot of times there's a conversation about what's the difference between an automated access governance and an autonomous access governance, right? Automation lets you complete a several list of tasks in a workflow, but you can't ask a follow-up question in an automation to get additional context and make more decisions in the process, right? Whereas autonomous governance is all about getting all the answers required for you at the time where you're doing an access review process. Hopefully one day it is taken out of the human intervention and the system itself can do complete autonomous governance for you. So there's a couple of use cases where AI is in the front and center of everything we do in access modeling.
Yeah. If AI agents are autonomously doing everything, how do you know whether they're authorized to do some of those activities, or how do you set the guardrails for some of those things?
Very interesting question. So first, do we have appropriate guardrails for authorization in the agentic AI flows? I would say the answer is no. To be honest, a lot of customers still ask Oleria, what checks and balances I need to have to enable a chat or AI copilot for their employees. For example, one of the use case we help our customers with is when they deploy M365 Copilot, they don't know how to enable it for a given employee or not, how to validate that they have the right guardrails and access posture before it is enabled. From there on, what you're asking is even more, little bit complicated for the current state of CIOs, where they are building their own agentic AI workflows. Like I spoke with the customer, they have this vision of creating an agentic AI solution to approve anything in their organization. Invoices, leave approvals, contracts, whatever it is. They want to make sure everything is coming into one place so that the managers are not missing out. I asked them a question. If Slack already has these integrations to perform approvals, why do you need one more technology? And their simple answer, I can't ask a follow-up question to Slack. Where in the agentic AI story, they're able to ask contextual questions. But they're worried about when a contextual question is asked, is that answer supposed to be given back to this end user or not? Are they authorized to get access to this kind of information or not? So they're looking for answers to these questions. They are relying on various kinds of technologies. Some people are relying on MCP endpoints. Maybe some identity vendors are offering these auth capabilities. Some customers even want to build their own auth solution and they don't have a way to do it because they're dealing with customer IAM problems, custom applications, all developer first use cases still are yet to be solved.
Yeah. You bring about really good important points about how the challenges of CIOs and CISOs are increasing with the AI agents. It's like they're trying to solve one problem and then 5 different problems are mushrooming.
Yes.
Now, flipping the coin, Jagadeesh, with the advent of AI agents, are the expectations of these CISOs and CIOs from the SaaS vendors that they're procuring, is it changing from the older world of, hey, does your SaaS product support SAML-based single sign-on, or do you have RBAC? Are they evolving from that to, hey, do you have better identity and governance for AI agents accessing the data from your system?
So it's a twofold answer from my perspective, right? Every agentic flow is a non-user interface flow. It's not as if somebody is logging in, clicking something that doesn't exist in the agentic AI flow.
Right.
And a lot of times, people don't realize that more than 70% of really large SaaS platform usage are non-interactive sessions, right? Like take Salesforce, take ServiceNow, take HubSpot, any of these technologies. What a lot of people think is when a sales account executive clicks a button, the real deal is after that, right? An invoice is automatically sent, a quote is automatically sent, Oracle Financials get the information, some other system gets information about the customer, so on and so forth, right? So it is already the case today that majority of the SaaS platform usage is non-interactive. Now, what the customer is transitioning from is that the legacy, it's even weird to say or call already this is legacy. But the current model of getting auth is a JOT token. It gives the certain context. Give me the list of access policies for Ravi. The JOT token will give a big JSON, and the developer is expected to write a bunch of additional code to understand what's functionally allowed versus not to do. But the agentic flow is asking, can Ravi approve a code? So there are two ways to deal with it. Either you need a mechanism where the auth token is very well built. The information is available to the language model, which can deduce and make a call very quickly. Or you can build an AI to AI conversation where you fundamentally ask a question, it gives a fundamental functional answer back to you, and you make it. So now the choice between these two is dependent upon the speed at which you want to perform the action. Any delay you add in this transaction is going to be difficult for customers. So there's a lot more real-time auth and guardrail capabilities required at the speed at which the customer wants to do the job. But in both use cases, developers need a very close to real-time functionality so that the end user experience is not derailed, right? I'll give a second use case. I was talking to somebody in the insurance market. They are building a chatbot that is end user facing for their insurance product. They obviously built a language model. They're very confident about what the language model can do and how it can support the end user. But now they want to make sure the language model is not giving an answer that is not meeting the Affordable Care Act policy, right? You cannot ask certain questions to the patient before you can sell insurance. That's a guardrail by itself. Rails are contextual in nature. They are authorization guardrails, there are data access guardrails, there are policy guardrails. Regardless which way it is, you need this information in real time so developers can make appropriate decisions and give best experience back to end users.
Yeah. Makes sense, Jagdish. So based on my conversations with a lot of product engineering leaders who are building SaaS applications, I think one thing that I keep telling them is, hey, in just a few years from now, machines are going to access your data much, much more frequently than humans will log into your dashboards and then click buttons and get actions done. Previously, product engineering builders used to slap on a login screen, build a simple auth layer for their product.
Yeah.
And then they're focused more on getting the product use cases right. How do you think this equation will change now that they need to handle the non-human access or API authentication or MCP authentication? How do you think this impacts the product engineering leaders' workloads?
Yeah. So the first foundational thing is we are entering into a new era of how data exfiltration is going to happen. If you don't have a control over data exfiltration, which essentially means you do not have an auth and an auth strategy. First, to know where the data exfiltration is happening in the AI world is a very difficult task by itself, because every end user can authenticate themselves to an MCP endpoint, and there you go. The data exfiltration already started without your control. Right. So it is extremely important for the product and engineering owners and leaders to find a strategic partner in this case. It is not that you have a customer IAM stack or a workforce IAM stack, and that stack is good enough to scale to the newer needs of AI first world. You need a technology that can actually give you control, gives you visibility, and works at runtime at the speed of your end user's experience while keeping you secure. Anybody who underestimates the importance of this stack or trying to figure out that they can do it by themselves, I would suggest that they should always look for partners in that case so they can focus more on their business logic. Let me put this a little differently. If I have to write a shared security responsibility model for AI, like how you have a cloud shared security responsibility model, where should IAM sit? Remember, IAM is always the customer's responsibility in the shared security model, whether it is SaaS or PaaS or IaaS, even now in AI. So when it is your responsibility, it is not just making it functionally working. It means you have visibility, you have control, you have runtime protection, and you have way to manage and operate and govern it. So that's a massive investment to be done. I would suggest nobody should underestimate it and always find a partner for it.
Yeah. One of the common argument that I come across, Jagadeesh, is, hey, the AI agents are getting really, really good at writing code, right?
Yeah.
Why can't they write the authentication layer for my product too?
Yeah. The reason is identity and access management is always business first. The answer to that question is very simple. You will never see whether an Auth 0 implementation or a Scalekit implementation or an Entra implementation or an Okta implementation, you will never see two customers implementing the business logic in the same way. Right. If you take a cookie cutter AI program and slap it to you, it will not work for your business logic, but it's because it's for you, it's for your business. Right. So the context that is required to be managed is important. That's one reason. The second reason is, please understand that access control is always distributed. You need to know who you are, which is mostly in your HR system. You need to know what you are, which is in your identity system. You need to know what you can do, which is in your application context. So I don't know how an AI can write that context automatically for you, right? An AI can probably write a code on how to consume the context given to it. But what is the right context and the business policy and the security policy on top of it, I think is very, very individual in this case, customer by customer.
Yeah. I think you brought about a brilliant point about identity and authentication is a distributed problem because the attributes come from different places and together create a binding policy which is used to take a decision on who the user is, what can they do and what can they not do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very simple use case. Imagine somebody wrote an AI agent for HR system. The AI agent is somebody was given a task in the HR organization to go and find what's the average percentage of the hike we are given for the high performance individuals. If you don't get completely distributed access control context, a non-HR team member may end up asking this question to your Workday because they are a developer in Workday and end up giving the answer. So you need the context of HR, then combined with identity, combined with the application data. Only then when it is packaged in a meaningful, well-understood way to the agent, then you can make a runtime decision on what to do as an experience. You do this only with the decision of Workday. There is a very high chance you're exfiltrating your employee data to a developer.
Yeah, makes sense, Jagdish. So one other topic that I'm constantly thinking about in the last 6 to 9 months is we have really established standards like OAuth and SCIM that have grown over the last 10 years, understanding different security vulnerabilities, figuring out how to plug them. But do you think they are now scalable and adaptable enough for the evolving growth of the non-human identities?
Yeah. So first of all, non-human identities are very little managed. They're there, right?
Okay.
I know it may help to lifecycle them, or it may help you to have a better security story about them, but they are not managed, first of all. A lot of customers still don't know an inventory of their non-human identities. So while the technology is available for you to do certain things, the reality today is that detecting what is a non-human identity, having an inventory of a non-human identities, and understanding what kind of authentication is used for them is not, unfortunately, a simple task for customers today. So the technology availability to where we are is far along. The second is AI brings a new challenge. Impersonation was there in SaaS world for quite some time, right? A lot of people impersonate their customers to support them. But in the AI
Yeah.
world, everything is impersonation, right? So we are now in a very different world. So the SCIM model and the OAuth model are transactional in nature. I don't know whether we have a runtime scalable answer to it. It's like take OAuth. Right? I heard somewhere a customer was telling me their token lifetime is close to 30 days.
Wow.
So when you type gmail.com, when you type salesforce.com, how many times are you actually seeing a login screen?
Only once. Yeah.
So then if you're not seeing a login screen, what do we mean by OAuth really doing any protection? Right? So the problem is the runtime OAuth flow and the governance and the continuous evaluation of access posture for the user are currently separated. Even though the technology allows you to do more, the current implementation stopped at authentication and a very basic authorization that comes with SAML. The real authorization have always been outside of it. So in Olivia, with our customers also, we see it. 95% of the permissions that are given to an end user are unused.
Imagine AI agents having these unused access for prolonged periods of time.
Long periods of time, right? So one customer was asking us, I want to help with AI agent, but if an end user is touching a resource that was never been used by them, I want you to flag it to me. So then our follow-up question is, what are you going to do with the flag? His answer is, I really don't know. We are scared that AI is allowing the end user to touch a lot more data configurations and system components and capabilities that were never used before. So it's top of the mind, but urgency has to be educated.
I think at some point we don't even realize how bad the problem is and what the ramifications are.
Yeah.
Maybe because we're still early in the picture of not really having seen bad vulnerabilities being exploited by bad AI agents or having bad access to the AI agents.
Yeah. You can also see a pattern from large SaaS vendors, right? Take M365, take Salesforce. Why do those AI agents always attach to those applications only? Language model capabilities are language model capabilities. It doesn't matter. You give any kind of code to GitHub's Copilot, it should be able to understand, not a problem. The reason most of these that's the reason they're called copilots and they're attached to your SaaS platform is Odyssey. Or else the copilot doesn't know what is allowed versus not for a given end user for it. Same thing with Agent Force. Agent Force has to have a copy of every permission model in Salesforce before it can let an SDR or an AE do something about it. But what CIOs are trying to do is not that. They are trying to build an enterprise solution for some very purpose-built use cases. But these purpose-built use cases are high-value order bits, and they need protection and guardrail at a runtime on a continuous fashion with all the changes going on in these downstream systems. And that's very, very important.
Yeah, and that's not easy either. We need entire identity ecosystem to come together, come up with modern protocols maybe to solve some of this ephemeral and autonomous AI agent access. So you have seen this identity space evolve in very, very close quarters as part of your experience at Salesforce and then in a workforce identity space at Jump Cloud. What do you think the one important thing that teams should ask more before adding agents to their product or before launching their AI agent into the production environments?
See, it's very difficult to pick one, but I will start with something very fundamental and foundational. AI agent by itself does not have an access model. AI agent at this time, I don't know what the future holds. At this time, are non-human identities. It is very difficult to pick one, but two things I want to make sure everyone is aware of, right? Today, more or less, every agentic AI solution or copilot is a non-human identity inside the application, right? When you ask a fundamental question, what is an access posture of a non-human identity? First, you need to understand what kind of access posture it has inside the app. Sometimes it's more than one application too. So make sure you understand what kind of access it has, what it can do in the application, and so on and so forth, right? The second is the impersonation story of it, right? Once one of the end users impersonate this machine identity, complexity of is the auth now the machine identity is auth, or is the auth now the end user's auth, right? A lot of customers ask us that question. So what is it now, right? And some vendors are even making these copilots and agents identity black box. It's making it even more difficult for customers to understand what kind of access posture these non-human identities have. Worst, some of these non-human identities usage is also black box to the customers. That's even more difficult for them, right? There's a recent article from Gartner too that 40% of enterprises are delaying taking these AI agents to production.
Because they don't have visibility into who is doing what.
Who's doing what and what this agent can do. And they're still understanding how to do the auth control between this machine account versus the person using the agent now, right? They don't know at runtime how to make that call and do something about it, right? So there's a lot more work to be done here. There is a portion of early adopters of AI who are prioritizing speed over guardrail. I think there'll be some hard lessons learned through that. There is a portion of customers who are not able to know what's the right way of doing it and still want to adopt AI, right? I think at some point these two customers will merge and we'll have more learnings through it. In a true real use case, I wouldn't recommend anybody doing an agentic AI workflow without appropriate guardrails, particularly in the authorization space.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's extremely important to define the exact authorization model that an AI agent should have at any particular point of time, and it can keep changing based on the workflows it's executing either by itself or on behalf of a user it's trying to impersonate, and then make sure that you have visibility into every action that it is doing and you have auditability and governance baked into your solution while you're taking the AI agent to run. Totally agree with that.
Continuous access evaluation was a theory yesterday.
Yeah.
We need it today for sure.
Yeah. So while we wrap up, Jagadeesh, do you have any advice to product and engineering leaders as they're thinking about building the identity and auth layer for the AI agents or for their products as they're going through the journey right now?
Yeah. See, all product and engineering leaders should remember that identity vendors don't slow them down. There is a perception that if they start doing something around guardrail and security, by design, their vision is going to slow down or their product is going to be slowed down. Work with the right vendors and partners who build technologies for developer first vision, where the entire vision is to accelerate your job by giving security as guaranteed. I always tell them, find a right partner, focus on your business logic, move even faster, but with the confidence that you have somebody who can help you with the guardrail. Don't assume security and identity will always slow you down. It's just a matter of finding the right partner to work with to help you to go at the speed you want and deliver value to your customers.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your learnings. It's been great having you here.
Thank you so much. And I enjoyed the conversation today.